Who is the voter who voted in 2020 who doesn't want to vote at all in 2024? Joining us now in Milwaukee, NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster. In Reno, Nevada, NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson. And NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor. NBC News correspondent Blaine Alexander will join us from Georgia in just a moment. So we got a wide variety of states and voters and swingy people talking about swingy issues. Yamiche, I want to start with you because you talked to those sick of everything voters in North Carolina. What was your takeaway?
That's right. Well, this was a group of 14 black voters in North Carolina who told us they are not really looking forward to a rematch between President Biden and former President Trump. They frankly don't like either candidate. That said, President Biden has always massively outperformed Trump among black voters. But some of those voters told us they see Biden's stated achievements, the ones that are on the White House website, as, quote, political mumbo jumbo. Others said even if the economic numbers have improved on paper, many people's lived experiences have not, and that people just are still struggling to pay for groceries and to buy homes. Still, these voters are not going to be easily swayed for voting for former President Trump. But most of them said they believed Biden was better for working class people than Trump. Take a listen.
All right. So all seven of you then would say that. And why is Biden better for working class Americans than Trump? Jerome, help me with that. Why?
Well, Trump is giving all his buddies a tax break, So, I mean, ain't really helping us out.
Nakia, why would you say Biden?
I was going to say the same thing as Jerome. Like I said, he's helping more of the upper class people. And I feel like when he does help the lower, working class people, that, like I said, there's an offset. Like he might help us now, but it's going to hurt us later on.
Now, these voters also brought up that Trump has said he believes black people will like him more than Biden because of his indictments and his mugshot. Now, these voters called those statements plain racist. That's a quote. So hard. So it's going to be very, very hard for him to make inroads there. But here's the one thing that's really going to, in some ways, worry President Biden. 12 people in this focus group said they voted for Biden in 2020. Now just 9 say they would vote for him again. In a tight race in a swing state like North Carolina, those margins are going to matter because Biden is going to want to grow his numbers in order to win this election. Katie.
Are you hearing about RFK from anybody, Yamiche?
I'm hearing from RFK, but I'm not hearing people say that they're going to swing in a big way. Maybe 1 or 2 people say they're interested in RFK. I haven't heard anyone that said that they're very big supporters of RFK Jr. But you can imagine that when you have these tight numbers, RFK is going to be someone, even if he pulls 2 or 3 of those voters who voted for Biden, that's going to be really bad news for Biden or really bad news for Trump if those people are people who voted for Trump.
Steve, let's talk about Nevada, because Nevada was the last state to get counted. It was a lot of drama there in 2020, who it was going to go to. What are you hearing today?
A lot of people in the middle, and not people who are just in the middle to be in the middle, but who live in the middle, who love being in the middle, who are nonpartisan by choice. The mayor of Reno is a nonpartisan. So people here are not only undecided, they're proud of being undecided because they have decided essentially that they haven't heard enough from the candidates to sway them one way or another, and they're waiting to hear more. These are folks that are not necessarily going to vote the party line because it's socially acceptable. They're not going to join a party because it's socially acceptable. They want to know that their issues perfectly align with the people that they're voting for. There are more nonpartisans in this state as a block than Democrats or Republicans. In Washoe County, specifically where I am, it is very purple, and people are going to vote the way they feel. So we spoke to some of those voters about, are you swaying one way or another? Here's what they told me.
How was America when President Trump was there? How is America now that Biden's there? And I'm leaning more towards Trump with those facts in front of me.
I think both presidential options right now aren't behaving appropriately.
How so? What do you mean aren't behaving appropriately?
They're attacking each other constantly and not talking about really what they want to do without the rhetoric.
Are you waiting to be swayed one way or another in November?
I would fit more along the lines of a nonpartisan / independent at this point, yes.
Are you leaning a certain way at this point?
No.
No. So we've been speaking to parties on both sides of the Washoe County GOP, Biden for Nevada, folks from various parties to try to figure out what the play is. Both say they are ramping up for the middle in a big way, specifically in northern Nevada. But, you know, that's something that is kind of generating as it goes, with now the focus being switched to the general election.
Let's go to Blaine Alexander out of Georgia. Blaine, Georgia, obviously a state that surprisingly went to the Democrats in both the Senate races and to Joe Biden in 2020. What are voters telling you there today?
You know, Katie, it's interesting. We've heard a lot from voters, both in Fulton County, which is a heavily blue area, but then in some of the suburbs, which really is what both Democrats and Republicans are eyeing very closely. One thing that I want to point out is that over the past 24 hours, I've spent a lot of time talking to Democrats and those organizers, the ones who played a really large part in turning out the youth and black vote back in 2020 that helped flip this state for Joe Biden. And they're saying that, quite frankly, they're bracing for a tough fight ahead. They recognize and acknowledge that the set of circumstances that led to flipping Georgia blue in 2020 was certainly unique. You're talking about the racial reckoning. You're talking about a global pandemic. None of those things are a factor this time around. So they're having to approach voters differently, especially when voters aren't particularly excited about the candidate at the top of the ticket. So here's what we're hearing from voters. Take a look.
Try to fix the country and the economy and.
Well, it's weird. I heard some sound there for a second, but apparently we don't have it. Plain.
We don't have that. Okay. Well, I will paraphrase for you what we're hearing from some of the voters, if you'd like. I'll tell you. So basically what we're hearing, again, nobody's too excited about who is at the top of their ticket, but they are talking about some of the issues that are important. There are a number of women in the suburbs, which is, of course, the coveted areas, that say Trump has to win back voters like us. I spoke to one woman who says she voted twice for Trump. She gave money to him. But after January 6th, she said she's done with the process. She actually cast an early ballot for Nikki Haley. And so if the Trump campaign is wanting to make up that 11,779 or so votes in Georgia, they're going to have to win back candidates like her. Democrats, however, are encouraged because they say there were more than 19,000 people who cast a ballot for Haley. Those people are up for grabs. Those are the folks that they're trying to pull into their camp. And as one Democratic strategist told me, he said the single most unifying factor that they have in their arsenal right now is the fact that Donald Trump is on the ticket. He says that's the best thing for them going forward.
Blaine, are you hearing from voters who don't want to vote at all?
You know, I've actually heard from a couple who say that they are weighing it. They haven't given me a definitive no, but two people told me that they actually voted for Biden in 2020, and now they're either weighing staying at home altogether or going for a third-party candidate. I asked one of them why. He said certainly the Israeli-Hamas war, that's a big deal. He's calling for a ceasefire there, so he is really turned off by the way Biden's handling all of that. And then the other person told me that she said it's just simply time for somebody else other than, in her words, old white men to be at the top of the ticket. So she says she's not compelled to vote for either one of them.
All right, Chuck Brewster, let's talk about Wisconsin. Wisconsin is interesting because they've had a lot of special elections, a lot of important state elections, and the Democratic Party says it's basically never stopped working since 2020 there. Do voters there feel that? Is the climate better suited for Joe Biden this time around?
There's definitely a lag that you talk about there, Katie. The president is coming here. He's touting infrastructure. You might see it in the signs behind me. He's announcing $3.3 billion in investments for communities nationwide, including about $36 million for Milwaukee, targeting black and brown neighborhoods in this city. But you talk about that lag. This is the president trying to close the gap there. And he's talking about Inflation Reduction Act. He's talking about the infrastructure, bipartisan infrastructure law. But you see the gap in how voters are actually feeling. I want you to listen to what some of them told me to get a better sense of what I'm referring to.
Try to fix the country and the economy and all these wars that are going on and build the wall. Like everybody is saying, it's not just Russ and me. There are, like I said, I'm independent, but people are concerned now with the drug flow that's coming in, the fentanyl. American people are dying right and left. People that are coming in from other countries are dying.
I would just like him to be maybe more assertive, and I think he's done everything he can possibly do to work with the Republicans. I don't know that Biden can do much else. I think we really need to change our legislators on both sides of the aisle. Some of them are so old.
This is the president trying to rally, try to mobilize people who largely already support him by trying to say, hey, this is what I've been doing for the past 4 years. This is how it's going to impact you. But there's that lag that we continued here with voter after voter and how they're actually feeling it and whether or not that will drive them in November.
Shaq Brewster, Shaq, thank you very much. Steve Patterson and Blaine Alexander, thank you as well.
Makes you feel any better? I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
So, come on, what is it not, please? Okay, couple of things. I'm running low on the dough. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah. I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I was so damn good on the other stuff.
This is your last warning, insects. Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
This was just a diversion. Security, please bring up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. Boss readiness. What was his name? What was it? Evac, sir. Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We are facing a heavy, sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark. General! General! National security stand down! Check it out! The mission is outrageous! The amateurs on a suicide mission!